What's up, you guys, and welcome to another episode of the Dark Sages Interlude. I'm your host, Chase the Dark Sage, and this show is brought to you by Beyond Beats and Culture. And this is the show where I basically kind of give you guys a look into my personal life and thoughts that relate to hip hop music and the things that I love in it, which is usually my niche. So before we actually get into today's video, make sure you hit the subscribe button and like the video if you have not already, and check out the best hip hop show on the planet, Beyond Beats and Culture. Weekly hip hop show with the most fire takes. We might piss some people off, but go ahead and actually check out that show right there. But in today's episode, in today's video right here, you already saw the thumbnail, you already saw the title. We're talking about Drake. Look, I know Drake has had one of the probably the worst years of his career in terms of public image. Jesus, public image last year when it comes to Kendrick Lamar and his beef, but you know, F all that. I don't care about that, because guess what? We got some great music coming out of that situation, and I've moved past that situation. A lot of people haven't, but I've actually moved past it, and I'm a huge fan of Drake. I've said it on the channel, I've said it in plenty of videos, and god dang it, it's posted like almost everywhere when I was younger. Everyone knew that I loved Drake back in high school and college, and so I just wanted to revisit some albums that, you know, some things that I didn't really like from Drake from back then. I did it with Scorpion last year, and I actually really enjoyed Scorpion, thinking now that it's a kind of a classic in Drake's discography. And I actually checked out CLB again last year as well in 2024, and I actually came up and kind of warmed up to it, thinking that it was a really good Drake project. And the thing with me and Drake projects and my history with Drake projects is that, except for Thank Me Later and So Far Gone, when it comes to a Drake project, I initially don't really like it on my first listen. It takes me a while to actually really get to liking it. Now, sometimes that while could take a few weeks, which was Take Care and Nothing Was the Same, and sometimes it could take a few years, which now is Views, CLB, Scorpion, and kind of Dark Lane demo tapes. I kind of find an appreciation with Drake projects later on, especially when I'm kind of like detached from the moment when they first come out. But I was mostly like interested to actually revisit Views, because Views is probably my most hated Drake album. Now you guys could probably say like, wow, what about Honestly Nevermind? Well, I actually really liked Honestly Nevermind for what it was. Do I think it's a great Drake project? No, but I actually really liked it for what it was. It brought the vibes. It's a cool little mood setter that I like to ride to every now and then, that you could just throw on. I don't really gotta pay attention to it. It's great background music. But when it comes to Views, you gotta think about like what Drake was coming off of. We just got If You're Reading This Is Too Late, like what, a year or two before that, and then we had the beef with him and Meek Mill. We had the collab tape with him and Future. We had OVO Sound Radio, where Drake was doing all these remixes and all these little freestyle city songs, which was like Cha Cha Slide from Drum, My Dib Radham, whatever the song is, Sweeter Man. That song was hard. If you do not know what Sweeter Man is, definitely go ahead and check that out. But we was getting all these remixes at this time, and I was like, okay, Drake is geared up for something. And then we had the album title Views from the Six. I'm like, oh man, if it's anything like Nothing Was the Same, this is about to be another classic in Drake's discography. And I was so hyped for this. At the time in 2016, I was in college. I believe I was in like what, maybe my sophomore year in college. And oh man, I was so hyped for this. I was so ready for this. And when this dropped, I listened to it. I was up that night, and it disappointed. I didn't enjoy it. I did not like it. I was like, where's the Drake I know and love? What happened to him? How did this happen? And so I was just so flabbergasted. I was so appalled at what I heard. Now, I did like a few tracks from Views. I'm not gonna say that the whole thing was like dog water or anything like that. But for a lot of years, I've actually not really liked it, and I've seen my same sentiments echoed online, on social media, on YouTube, things like that. And I'm like, okay, I'm not the only one in this. I'm not tripping. Views is not a good album. All right, cool. I thought I was just tripping on this one Drake album. And as the years passed by, I got into vinyl collector. Shout out to my cousin, because he's the one who got me into it. And so I was buying all these Drake albums that was on vinyl that was readily available. And so I had to buy Views, because I'm like, all right, I got to complete the Drake discography. I listened to it on vinyl a few years after the initial release of Views. And I was like, still didn't really get me, still didn't really catch me. So I was like, all right, cool. And at this time now, I've already met my girlfriend, who was not my fiance, and so she loves the album. I'm just like, why do you like this album? Like, this is like one of Drake's worst projects. What are you doing liking this album right here? Why do you enjoy this piece of crap right here? And she was like, I don't know why you tripping, this fire. And I'm not gonna lie, I was kind of tripping. And so last night, I was kind of inspired by my boy Brendan Spiegel. Go ahead, check him out. He has a dope YouTube channel where he talks about music and life in general. But I was on his Twitter, and well, not on his Twitter, his tweets came up on my TL, and I saw him talking about Views, and I'm like, what inspired my boy to get back into Views? Like, what was it? The atmosphere, the weather? Like, what inspired you to actually want to go back to listen to Views? I don't know how often he listens to it, so Brendan, if you do see this, let me know in the comment section. But I was like, okay, he's talking good about Views, and usually my boy Brendan, my blog era brother, he usually talks favorably about music that he likes. He might, like, you know, display his, I don't want to say complaints, but you know, his like, you know, he might display his moments, but it's very rare. But he was talking about Drake. He's still a fan of Drake, and I'm not gonna say he's a glazer or anything like that, but he's one of those people that I see that has not let the beef taint Drake's image of what the image he had of Drake back then, especially the run that Drake was going on from the blog era up until Views, which I think Views is like probably Drake's biggest album. I mean, it sold the most out of Drake's albums in the first week, like 1 million, I think. But I'm rambling. Let me keep going. So I saw him talking favorably about Views, and I'm like, maybe I need to give this one another listen. And at this time now, obviously I'm recording this a month or two before the actual anniversary of Views for 2025, and hopefully we actually do a review of it on the channel. So I'm not going to do a full-on review of this album right here, but I'm just looking, I'm just like, let me go ahead and get into this album and see what, you know, I'm missing out of this album. And so we get into the album, right? This album, it had a lot riding on it. Pause on that. It had a lot riding on it, especially with the run that Drake was having before and the things that he was doing in 2025 leading up to 2026. I mean, 2015 to 2016. Ooh, I'm thinking of the future right now. And so we get into the album. You can see the ratings right here, kind of like, you know, some people was like kind of like, you know, in the middle, lukewarmish about it. They was like, Drake, I don't know about this one, but I'm not gonna lie, my mind changed. My mind changed on this album. I was tripping. You call me a Drake glazer, you call me Ovi, whatever, you know, the word right there, you call me that or whatever. I like Drake. I'm not gonna say he's the best rapper of all time. I'm not gonna say anything like that, but I gotta talk about this album. Keep the Family Close. I hated this intro back then. I love it now. Then we got 9. Always loved 9. I had no contention with that song. Turn the 6 upside down. It's a 9 now. Perfect second song, especially after a song like Keep the Family Close. I used to really hate Keep the Family Close. Like, I just hated that as an intro. But looking back at it now, I'm like, man, okay, Drake, you was really doing your thing right here. You With Me with the DMX sample. Love it. I always loved it. Feel No Ways. Perfect vibe setter, especially when you riding out at nighttime. Oh my gosh. Or when it's dawn, especially like in the morning, right before it becomes like full on daytime when the sun comes out, but it's kind of like gray in the sky still, especially if it's foggy. Oh my gosh, just like the album cover. Yes, sir. Then we got Hype. Hype is a song where I'm just like, I didn't really like this when it first came out. I'm cool with this now, but this definitely feels like a song that should have been on like What a Time to Be Alive right here. Then we get Western Road Flows, where we get the usual Drake kind of rapping in the timestamp-ish flow, but he's just doing his general rapping and talking about his life. Cool. Then we got Redemption, which I think is a cool track as well. I didn't really like it back then, but I actually really enjoy it now. Then we got With You, which sounds like a Party Next Door 3 song, a P3 song itself off of that album, but Party Next Door just gave it to him. I'm not mad at this song, and I'm always one of those people that I love when it's Party Next Door featuring Drake, because Party usually has a fire song, but when it's Drake featuring Party, I'm kind of a bit hesitant on that, I'm not gonna lie. But this song, I actually grew to really like it. But then we got track 9 right here, Faithful, featuring Pimp C and Division. I didn't really care for Pimp C's verse on this, so to me this was a waste of a posthumous verse right here. Division did a good job. I think Drake did a good job. I think the only waste on this song for me is the Pimp C verse right here, but Pimp C is part of one of my favorite groups of all time in hip-hop, UGK, so I can't be too mad of it. Drake getting the verse and Bun B basically and Pimp C's stay kind of okay in this right here, so I'm like, all right, cool. All right, so you can see from tracks 1 through 9 is a really solid run from Drake. I don't know what I was tripping about when I was younger. Literally, the only songs I would listen to when I was younger would be 9, You With Me, Feel No Ways, and Western Road Flows. I would always stop right there because I'm just like, yeah, this is all I need from this album right here. Then we got track 10, which is still here, which you can tell also is probably like maybe a What a Time to Be Alive, like leftover as well, that, you know, just was given to Drake. I don't really like this song. Even on my re-listen, I still don't like this song. Then we got track 11, Controller, track 12, One Dance. This is when Drake gets into that dancehall Afro beat style of music that he starts to implement a bit more within his albums. And I'm not gonna lie, when this first came out, I'm like, yo, these songs are super annoying. I've had some time to be removed from the moment itself. These songs have been out for years now. I felt a huge blast of nostalgia when I heard Controller and One Dance. These are some songs I'm just like, yo, I'm actually kind of grooving with this. This is cool. This is fun Drake right here. I'm not too mad at this right here. I like Drake with the melodies. I always love Drake with the melodies, but I also love them with the hard raps as well. Controller and One Dance, I'm not gonna lie, are good songs. I gotta come around to them now. As I've gotten older, I'm nearing my 30s. I enjoy these songs now. Then we got Grammys, which you could definitely tell was like a song that should have been on What a Time to Be Alive. A lot of the rappy tracks that like are really like hard. I don't think Hype was a What a Time. No, Hype was the one that I thought should have been on What a Time to Be Alive too. And Still Here is also in that range for me as well. But Grammys definitely is that. But I kind of like Grammys though, because my boy Future was on a monstrous run at the same time as well. So Grammys, I'm cool with. That's the one Hype Drake song that I like that has like trap like hi-hats and the instrumentals and all that. I really like Grammys. Then we get track 14, Child's Play, which I have a weird relationship with the song because looking back at it, when it first came out, I completely understood Drake's point. But me and Drake were not at the same age. So I should not have been, he should not be talking about my experience, even though he does that a good amount, which is why I relate to his music. But Child's Play is a song that, especially now when I go back to listen to it, I don't know why, but I don't have a problem with the actual subject matter itself. I think I just more so have a problem with his rapping performance on the song. I think that the beat is cool. I just don't like Drake rapping on it like that. Like, I don't like the way he rapped on it. But I really like it overall. I mean, I don't like it overall. I like everything about the song, subject matter wise, production wise. I just don't like Drake's rapping performance on there. I don't like his flow. But in terms of like him being immature, why you gotta fight with me at the cheesecake, whatever he says, I don't actually mind that bar. I don't get why people have such a contention when it comes to that bar right there. But overall, I like it. But except for Drake's rapping performance, I like the instrumental and I like the subject matter. But then we get another song, Pop Style, which features The Throne, which is Jay-Z and Kanye West. I did not like the song. Throw the song off. Then we get Too Good featuring Rihanna. We get another Afrobeats dance hall like track, basically like a Take Care Part 2. I enjoyed this song as well. I had no problems with this song. Track 17, Summer's Over Interlude by Majid Jordan. Come on. I'm not even gonna say anything about that. Fire. Then we got track 18, Fire and Desire. One of Drake's best like slower tracks. Like if we gotta make a playlist, if we had to make some slow R&B tracks that Drake does, this would be in there. This is like one of the top 10s. Then we got track 19, Views, which is his like outro track, kind of like a timestampy flow type of rap track, which I thought was a really solid outro track. And then we got track 20, Hotline Bling, the bonus track, the last track of Views, which a lot of people hate the song because it was everywhere at the time, and it was everywhere, but I liked it because of the novelty of when I first heard it with my cousin, and it was supposed to be a Cha-Cha Slide remix from Drum, but then he just ended up making it an actual song itself, which during the OVO Sound Radio time, I really enjoyed this. I was like, all right, this is cool right here. I remember me and my cousin, we used to hang out there in the summer, and we was just tuning in to OVO radio, and this came out. We was like, yo, let's check this out. So, I have memories and nostalgia bias towards certain songs on here, and especially on Hotline Bling. But as you can see right here, this album is 81 minutes and 14 seconds long. An hour and 21 minutes. I'm not gonna lie. Listening to it last night, though, it didn't feel like it. It didn't feel like the album length or time-wise was this long right here. I actually was jamming and enjoying all these songs. Pacing-wise, I didn't think like any song really slowed the actual album experience down for me. I really enjoyed this album. I have really no bad thing to say about this album. Does it have a few issues in it? Yes. Are there a few songs on here that I don't really care for? Yes, but I didn't like 3 songs out of 20. That's a really good batting range, especially for an album that's an hour and 21 minutes. I don't know why I was tripping back then, but I really love the sequencing on this album. I love Drake's rapping performance on most songs. I love the fact that Drake gave me a good amount of variety on here. I know a lot of people say Drake needs to come out with just a rap project. Drake needs to come out with just an R&B project. Well, he did it on Scorpion, and some of you guys loved this, some of you guys did not. On this project right here, I feel like this well balances what Drake does perfectly. This is, to me, kind of like a Take Care 2 almost. Nothing Was the Same is definitely in the middle of that, to where it's like, to me, Nothing Was the Same for me is my favorite Drake album, right? I think it's his best album also because it's so concentrated. But to me, this is like a Take Care 2 where he kind of like dibbles and dabbles with different sounds, but this, he goes a bit more into it. And this is Drake at the height and peak of his career right here. And so just going back to Views and thinking about it and like just listening to the album again, especially being removed out the moment, I think I needed that because sometimes I just need that because sometimes the Drake hype can really get me and I can be really disappointed. But going back to an album like Views, I'm not gonna lie, it warmed up to me. I remember last night at the time of me recording this video, I posted on my Twitter, I rated Views like 1 star on my music board app, right? I went back, I had to rate it 4 out of 5. This is a really solid body of work. This is a really solid project in Drake's discography. This might have to be a classic just because of when it came out, more so about the moment and the hits that came off of it. This is a classic in terms of like I said, the moment it came out. Like this isn't really a classic for like Drake because Drake isn't really doing anything too different on here in terms of like his rapping ability and performances. He's doing what Drake does. He's rapping at the same level that Drake usually raps at, and he's doing it really well right here. I think he really holding on the sound. He kind of showed us that Toronto sound. Now, obviously, he has some trap influences, especially with him working with Future like that. But overall, I think that Drake gave us a really solid body of work. And to me, he gave me an album that encompasses the Toronto sound with some of the Jamaican dancehall like sounds, but also giving him the rap and the trap stuff, basically showing that Toronto is kind of like a melting pot for all the genres. Because if we look at some of the artists that come out of Toronto, Tory Lanez, The Weeknd, 88 Glam, Nav, they all encompass some of these sounds right here. And especially with the Jamaican descent that some Torontoians, I don't know what y'all call people from Toronto, they're Canadians, god dang it, what some of the people that are from Canada have right there, especially with someone like a Party Next Door. You can see why this album sounds like this. So for me, this is like the great sounding project to like display what is coming out of Toronto. I don't know. I think I just went on a long ramble, long tangent, but I don't know. You guys let me know what you think about Views. I'm kind of done right here. I just want to talk about Views because I've actually warmed up to Views. I like Views now. I can't believe I'm saying that. Like, I never thought that I would ever say that I like Views, but I really enjoy this project. I'm glad that I bought this project on vinyl years ago. And to see like where Drake is in his career right now, some of these songs kind of ring a little bit harder, especially songs like Keep the Family Close. I don't know. Turn the 6 upside down to 9. Some of these songs ring a bit harder, especially coming off the beef Jesus that Drake lost earlier within the year. Like I said, let me know what you guys think about this down in the comment section down below. I'd like to see your thoughts on Views and what are your thoughts on Drake's, I guess, the way he tackled this album, the hype that he had going into this album. Like I said, let me know in the comment section down below. And let me know how old y'all were when Views came out. I definitely want to know that down in the comment section down below as well. But yeah, this has been another episode of the Dark Sages Interlude. Make sure you hit the subscribe button and like the video if you haven't already. And check out the best hip-hop show on the platform, Beyond Beats and Culture. This has been another episode of the Dark Sages Interlude. I'm Chase the Dark Sage, and I'm out. Peace.
See, when I ain't had no money, I still had sauce. So if you don't got no sauce, then you lost.